Welcome to Fuller Expectations, the podcast where we dive into topics like aging with confidence, navigating identity shifts, building new healthy habits, rediscovering purpose, health and wellness routines in midlife, and yes, maybe even money, retirement, relationships, and letting go of things that no longer serve you. I'm your host, Carrie Fuller, and I am so excited that you're here with me today. My hope is that our episodes feel like a blend of personal growth, real conversation, and gentle encouragement. We'll keep things honest, thoughtful, and practical. If you have not already, please hit follow so that our podcast can appear in your podcast library. We drop episodes every week, and we don't want you to miss it. And if you thought of somebody who might benefit by what you've heard today, please share this episode with them. And now let's get into today's episode. Hello, Fuller Expectations podcast family. Thanks so much for joining us today. This exciting episode is all about the people that are sitting at your table, how your relationships actually shape your health, your happiness, and your future. And did you know that the people that you spend the most of your time with influence far more than your mood? They actually shape your health, your confidence, your habits, your outlook, and even affect how long you live. We're going to talk about the research around this. So research continues to show that the quality of our relationships is one of the strongest predictors of happiness and longevity. In this episode of Fuller Expectations, we're going to explore how friendships evolve over time, why some relationships naturally grow apart. They do. It's normal and it's fine. And how intentionally surrounding yourself with encouraging, authentic, growth-minded people can completely change the trajectory of your life. If you have ever wondered if it's okay to outgrow friendships, or if you've wondered how to build deeper, healthier connections, this conversation today is for you. Let's start by thinking about the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with. 5 people, okay? Are you thinking about those? If you're driving, it's okay. You don't have to write anything down, but think about those 5 people that you're spending the most of your time with. Are they making you better? Do you feel like they enhance your life? Are these people encouraging you to dream bigger? Do they make you laugh? Do you leave the time that you're spending with them feeling lighter, or do you leave after spending time with them and feel heavier? We often spend an enormous amount of time thinking about our diet and our exercise and our finances and our careers. But one of the biggest influences on every one of those things is something that we rarely stop to evaluate. And that is the people that we choose to surround ourselves with. Did you know that relationships are the greatest predictor of a good life? We are going to talk about a famous Harvard study of adult development. In this, researchers followed people for more than 80 years. And the conclusion surprised a lot of people. It wasn't wealth, it wasn't fame, it wasn't cholesterol, it wasn't career, it wasn't IQ, it wasn't any of those things that predicted a good life. It was the quality of close relationships. Strong relationships are actually associated with living longer, with better physical health, with lower rates of depression, with better memory later in life, with greater resilience during difficult seasons, and more overall happiness in lives. And these things are remarkable. So if relationships matter this much, why don't we spend more time intentionally building them, or spending more time thinking about them, spending more time deciding which ones are worth keeping and investing in and which ones we really need to walk away from? Did you ever stop to think about the fact that we really do become like the people that we surround ourselves with? John Rowan famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with." And whether it's literally 5 people is not really the point. The point is the influence that people have on you. Over time, we naturally begin to adopt their attitudes, their expectations, habits, vocabulary, financial behaviors, their fitness habits, emotional responses. And we don't even really realize this a lot of the times. So if you stop to think about those 5 people that you are most with in your life, which ones inspire you? Which ones challenge you? And the opposite of that, which ones drain supporting you? Who celebrates your wins with you? Who secretly hopes you stay exactly where you are? They don't want you to grow. They don't want you to improve yourself. Maybe they're a little jealous by you. There are definitely different types of friends, and not every friend serves the same purpose. So let's talk about the categories of friends. There's a few different ones. So there's the lifelong friends. These are the people who knew you before you became who you are today. They're the ones who remember your awkward years. Remember all those pictures we look back on and the clothes that we were wearing and our hair and all that other stuff? These friends remember those days. These are the ones who laugh about stories that no one else understands. These are your lifelong friends. Then there's the growth friends. These are the people you meet because you're becoming someone different. So this is either through, going to the gym or your work life, or maybe going to church or spending time volunteering. Maybe you have kids that do activities and you met people through your kids' activities. And then there might be friends who you've met through just doing business and adulting. So these are the relationships that stretch us. And then there's the mentors. So these are sometimes older, but they might be younger too. But these are the people who make us think differently, who help us grow, who help us become who we're becoming, and they encourage us to do that. And then there's the energy giver. They are hopeful, they're encouraging, they inspire you. These are the people that feed your energy. And the opposite of that, there's the energy drainers. So every conversation with these people is complaining or drama or negativity. They're always a victim of somebody. They probably gossip a lot about other people. And you don't necessarily stop loving these people, but you may need healthier boundaries around them. There's an important thing to think about, and that's about the fact that it's okay to grow out of relationships. Sometimes friendships just serve a certain season. It doesn't mean that you failed at it or the other person failed at it, but people change and priorities shift and interests evolve and life just happens. Sometimes one person continues growing while the other one just stays comfortable with where they are. And it's okay to acknowledge that. You certainly don't have to end a friendship dramatically. Sometimes friendships and relationships just naturally change. They're simply no longer where you want to spend some of your emotional energy anymore. And that's totally fine. And you don't have to do anything about it. You can just spend your time focusing on other friendships and surround yourself with the people who truly feed your soul. One thing I think we all realize is the older we get, the harder friendships sometimes become because we're busy. Did you ever feel like you haven't seen some of your really good friends in a long time and you try to coordinate calendars and everybody's just so busy that you end up booking something like 3 months out? That's fine. That's just life. And then sometimes you haven't seen them in months and months and you get together and it's like no time passed. Other things get in the way, raising kids and focusing on our careers and dealing with our aging parents and sometimes grandchildren or health issues. But the older we get, we find that friendships don't happen accidentally anymore. So they require intentionality. You might have to invite people to get together, invite someone to coffee, send a text message to somebody, just let them know that you're thinking about them. Reach out and see if they want to maybe meet for a walk on a weekly basis or even a monthly basis. Maybe start a dinner tradition where you're getting together, even if it's like every other month, getting together for dinner or planning an annual trip together. Definitely celebrating and acknowledging birthdays is a big deal. We don't have to wait for everyone else to get organized in life. We can actually be the organizer. So if you're the one that's kind of never initiating a plan to get together, think about that. Maybe be the person that reaches out to make a plan. Be the friend that you want. Instead of asking yourself, why doesn't anyone call me? Ask yourself, when was the last time I reached out? If you wish you had better friends, you should really ask yourself if you are becoming the kind of friend that people want to be around. Really great friendships are built on trust and encouragement and honesty and showing up for the other person. We don't necessarily need perfect friends, but we need to be dependable for the person that needs us once in a while. And we certainly want to have friends that are dependable for us too. So because relationships are the single most predictor of happiness, health, and longevity, you really should spend some time thinking about the friends that are sitting at your table and ask yourself, who helps me become the best version of myself? Who believes in me before I believe in my own self? Who leaves me feeling energized and excited? And then who consistently brings negativity into my life? What relationships deserve more of my attention? Who have I unintentionally neglected and maybe just need to reach out to? Who needs to hear back from me this week? I encourage you to reach out to one of your friends that you've been meaning to connect with and schedule time to get together, either for coffee or go for a walk. Maybe just write them a note or reach out, text them, make a phone call. We never get phone calls anymore. It's nice to hear from people, and tell that person why they matter to you. And then ask yourself, what kind of friend am I becoming? Because someone else's quality of life may improve simply because you're in it. I really don't think that we accidentally build extraordinary lives. We build our lives with intention. And one of the greatest investments we'll ever make, it's not our portfolio or the house we live in or our careers, even though those definitely contribute to a good life. It's the people that we walk through life with. Choose relationships that challenge you to grow, and definitely protect the relationships that bring you peace. Invest deeply in the people who make you laugh and who tell you the truth and who celebrate your victories and who shows up for you when life gets hard. Because at the end of the day, success is not measured by what you've accumulated. It's measured by who's sitting around your table. As we get older, the more we need to recognize the difference between loneliness and solitude. Solitude can definitely be restorative, but chronic loneliness has measurable effects on health. And for some people, friendships after the age of 50 require courage. Many adults hesitate to initiate new friendships because it feels vulnerable, but some of the richest friendships begin in the second half of life. So if you have somebody that's maybe a new neighbor to you, or the new person at work, or a new person in your fitness class, definitely have a conversation with them. Your friendship tribe does not have to be large, but it does need to be genuine. So a few trusted, authentic relationships often contribute more to well-being than dozens of superficial connections. So if you have a few really good friends, you are definitely ahead of the game. The ripple effect of one healthy relationship, even one encouraging mentor, friend, spouse, can really change your confidence and your habits and your willingness to pursue new goals. So getting back to the Harvard study of adult development, it's one of the most fascinating and influential studies ever conducted on what makes for a healthy, happy, meaningful life. And it's especially relevant. I want to share with you some of the most important things in the study. Number one is good relationships keep us happier and healthier. So after following participants for more than 85 years, researchers conducted that the quality of close relationships is one of the strongest predictors of happiness, physical health, and longevity. Robert Waldinger is the study's longtime director, and he often says good relationships keep us healthier and happier, period. The key isn't how many friends you have. It's whether you have people that you can truly rely on. It's not about building a bigger social circle. It's about building a deeper one. The second takeaway from the study is that loneliness is harmful. It actually is harmful. The researchers found that chronic loneliness affects both emotional and physical health. So people who are isolated tend to experience poor overall health, faster cognitive decline, higher rates of depression, and shorter lifespans. Interestingly, you can feel lonely in a crowd or even while you're married if your relationships lack emotional closeness. So think about that. I'm going to say that again because that's just interesting to me. You can feel lonely in a crowd or even while you're married if your relationship lacks emotional closeness. The third takeaway from this study is that relationship quality matters more than relationship status. Being married wasn't automatically associated with better outcomes, because what mattered was whether or not the relationship was supportive and emotionally safe. A loving partner improves health, but a chronically conflicted relationship can cause more damage than just being single. Because again, it's not about having people around you, it's about having the right people around you. The fourth takeaway of this study is that close relationships help protect the brain. Yes, they do. One surprising finding was that people in secure, supportive relationships tend to maintain better memory and cognitive function as they aged. Knowing somebody has your back appears to buffer stress and contribute to healthier aging. The fifth takeaway from the study is that relationships buffer stress, as we just said. Life inevitably brings loss and illness and disappointment and uncertainty. It's just life. But people with strong support systems recovered more effectively from difficult experiences. The study actually suggests that connection doesn't eliminate hardship, but it definitely makes us more resilient when the hardship comes. The sixth takeaway from this study is that happiness isn't found in money or fame. Many participants believe success and money would bring happiness, but they actually found that lasting well-being came primarily from meaningful relationships, feeling like you have a purpose, a sense of community around you, and emotional connection. So wealth definitely can improve comfort in your life. It does not replace genuine human connection. Our seventh takeaway from this study is that it's never too late to improve your life. One of the study's most encouraging messages is that people continue to change throughout adulthood. They form new relationships, they repair relationships, they discover new purpose in their life, and they become happier later in life. The study rejects the idea that we're set in our ways by middle age. This is actually wonderful to know. We are not set in our ways in middle age. We change, new friendships can be formed, and we can become healthier later in life. So do not give up on that concept. The eighth takeaway is that caring for relationships requires intention. Healthy relationships don't automatically happen. If you want healthy relationships, you have to invest time in the friendships and the family, in the sense of community and in the shared activities. Relationships are like muscles. They strengthen with regular attention and they weaken through neglect. Number 9, emotional intelligence matters. Participants in this study who learn to communicate honestly and also express emotions in a healthier way, they generally experienced stronger relationships. And the final takeaway from the study, number 10, is that small moments matter more than grand gestures. So this study showed that everyday interactions matter. And this is things like laughing together, sharing meals together, checking in, listening when people are talking to us, expressing appreciation for other people, and spending time together. These might seem like ordinary things, but they really do accumulate into extraordinary relationship building over a lifetime. My favorite lesson from the study is that the greatest investment you can make isn't necessarily in your retirement account or the possessions that you buy. It's in your relationships. In the back half of life and towards the end of our life, people in the study rarely wish they'd answered more emails or accumulated more things. They remember people who celebrated special times with them and stood beside them in difficult seasons. People who made them laugh and challenged them to grow, and people who loved them well. So, Fuller Expectations podcast family, I encourage you to think about the people in your life who make you feel more like yourself. Think about who you would call first if you're going to go through a crisis. Think about who would call you if they're going through a crisis. Think about what relationships deserve more of your attention and whether or not there's a friendship that maybe you've been meaning to reconnect with but haven't done it yet. And then, are you investing as much in your relationships as you do in other areas of your life? And then lastly, what kind of friend or spouse or sibling or neighbor are you? And is there anything in there that you would want to change or do differently? Because guess what? You can. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. If you thought of somebody who might benefit by the message, please share this podcast with them. And don't forget to follow or subscribe. We would love to have you as part of our podcast family. Let's keep showing up and being the best version of ourselves. Thanks for listening today. If this episode sparked something in you, please share it with a friend, leave a comment or a review, and reach out and let me know what resonated. Remember, no matter what age or stage of life you're in, you can pivot. And always remember, the second half of life is not a winding down. It's a waking up. Please follow or subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our podcast family. Let's keep showing up and being the best version of ourselves. Until next time, take care.